In July 2026, a cinematic event shook the global industry. The movie Michael crossed the symbolic $1 billion mark at the box office. It isn't a superhero film. It is the story of an artist. The Michael Jackson biopic became the first biopic in history to surpass this staggering threshold. But behind this triumph lies the true lesson of urban dynasty. How a music catalog, neighboring rights, and a cultural brand can be structured, defended, and sometimes sacrificed across generations. Sell half of your empire to save it all? That is what we are going to analyze. To understand the 2024 sale, we must go back 40 years to 1985. Michael Jackson was on top of the world with the Thriller album. But his true masterstroke wasn't a song, it was an acquisition. For $47.5 million, he bought the ATV music catalog. This catalog held the publishing rights to around 4,000 songs, including nearly the entire legendary Beatles repertoire. The lesson is powerful. Owning your masters is a victory, but owning the publishing rights of other legends creates a timeless empire. Let's pause for a moment on one essential distinction in the music industry. A master is the finished recording of a song. Publishing is the composition, the lyrics, the melody, the written work. Michael Jackson owned masters from his own recordings, but his ATV acquisition was mainly about publishing rights to thousands of other songs. That is why the deal was so strategic. A song can create revenue whenever it is performed, covered, synchronized in a film, or used in an advertisement. A catalog turns artistic success into a recurring asset, independent of the artist's physical presence. But an empire has a maintenance cost, and success does not immunize against mathematical reality. 10 years later, Jackson merged his catalog with Sony to create Sony ATV. This strategic move masked a darker reality. Over the years, despite massive assets, liquidity dried up. The financial press reported massive debt. This is the classic trap of great estates. You are a billionaire on paper, but you lack the cash to pay the interest. At the end of his life, the press widely reported the existence of debt and severe liquidity constraints. After the artist passed away in 2009, the estate's work was not to liquidate every asset. It had to balance three vital goals: pay the debt, protect the creative legacy, and keep exposure to the future. In 2016, the estate sold its Sony ATV stake for $750 million. The logic of a partial sale is simple. It turns some value into immediate liquidity, while leaving the estate to participate in future income from the stake it keeps. But it is not an automatic victory. Everything depends on the price, the rights sold, the rights excluded, and the ability to create new works around the brand. That is what makes the 2024 deal fascinating. According to Variety, Sony Music paid at least $600 million to acquire half of Jackson's publishing catalog and recording masters, with a total valuation estimated around $1.2 billion. But the estate didn't sell everything. They kept a 50% stake, retaining control and future income. Most importantly, they excluded crucial assets from the sale, like the royalties from the Broadway musical. The scope matters as much as the price. And this is where the 2026 movie comes in. A $1 billion biopic doesn't just sell tickets. It can renew public interest in streaming, physical sales, merchandising, and the wider brand. By keeping 50% of the catalog, the estate directly captures this new wave of revenue. But be aware, the estate's exact income has not been made public. The urban dynasty lesson is simple. All its value, but financial structure is what enhances it over time. What would you do with this?
In Michael Jackson's case, the intelligence was not only in acquiring a catalog, it was also in understanding when an asset should be kept, shared, administered, or monetized. In 1995, the creation of Sony ATV turned the ATV catalog into a joint venture with Sony. The move increased the scale of the business and placed the catalog within a global publishing structure. This is a fundamental lesson. A valuable asset needs high-quality administration. Rights must be registered, tracked, collected, and protected across multiple territories. Ownership alone is not enough. For a young artist, this distinction may sound distant, yet it begins with the first contract. When you sign, ask, who owns the master? Who controls the publishing? What is the territory? What is the term? What are the options? What approvals are required for a synchronization? These are not legal details. They determine who participates in the value of your work for 10, 20, or 50 years. The Jackson case also shows the risk of financial leverage. Debt is not automatically bad. It can finance an acquisition, a company, or a creative project. But it becomes dangerous when deadlines are short, assets are difficult to sell quickly, or income is irregular. A catalog can be extraordinary and still not produce enough liquidity at the exact moment a lender requires it. That is why net worth and available cash are two different realities. Imagine two artists. The first owns 100% of a highly valued catalog, but has high fixed costs and short-term debt. The second sells a minority stake to a partner, pays what is suffocating him, and keeps the rest of the upside. Neither choice is automatically better. Everything depends on valuation, the cost of debt, the quality of the partner, and the rights that remain protected. So the right question is not, should you sell? The right question is, what are you selling? At what price? To solve what problem? And what do you keep after the signature? This is exactly why the scope of the 2024 deal matters. Headlines often say that a catalog was sold, but contracts are rarely that simple. Some works are included, others are excluded. Some income streams are shared, others remain protected. Royalties linked to the Broadway musical were not included in the reported transaction. That detail completely changes the reading of the deal. You should never analyze a sale only through its announced price. You must analyze the asset list, exclusions, control mechanisms, and future growth scenarios. There is also a cultural dimension. Michael Jackson is not only a catalog. He is a visual archive, an artistic identity, choreography, a history, a global community, and an exceptional ability to be rediscovered by new generations. A movie, a Broadway musical, or a reissue does not replace an artist's work. But these works can create a rediscovery moment. They can bring the songs, videos, and images back into the cultural conversation. For rights holders, this moment can reinforce the relevance of an asset. It does not, on its own, calculate net income, but it helps explain why a small artistic brand continues to attract investors. So let's keep 5 principles. First, understand the difference between recording a work and owning its composition. Second, There is one final lesson. When a catalog makes headlines with a spectacular price, the number alone is not enough. To understand its value, you need to examine at least 5 elements. First, the quality of the works. Are they still listened to, covered, or used? Second, the term of the rights. How long can revenue still be collected? Third, the diversity of territories. A global success is not managed like a local success. Fourth, administration. Are royalties actually identified and collected? Finally, control. Who decides on a synchronization, a reissue, or a new exploitation? The Michael Jackson case reminds us that a good asset is not simply a list of songs. It is a system of rights, contracts, partners, and decisions. That is why 2 catalogs that appear identical from the outside can have very different values at the negotiation table. For an artist, the first wealth is not a check. It is understanding what you truly own, what you are granting away, and how your work can keep working for you.